Ambassador Elaine Ward adjusted her formal blue uniform as she stood before the massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber. After 15 years of humanity's membership in the Council, this peace conference on Centauri Prime would be their greatest achievement yet. 5 major galactic powers would finally end centuries of Cold War. And Elaine, a career diplomat from Chicago, had helped make it happen. "Ready, Ambassador?" asked Peter Daniels, her aide. His thin face looked pale under the purple lights of the alien hallway. "As ready as I'll ever be," Elaine replied. She took a deep breath as the doors slid open silently. The council chamber was a vast dome with seats arranged in rising tiers. In the center stood the speaking platform where she would represent Earth. Around her sat the representatives of civilizations far older than humanity's spacefaring history. The Xerians glittered in the artificial light, their crystalline bodies catching and reflecting the colors around them. The Moravi representatives floated in special containment fields, their gaseous forms swirling with thought patterns. The reptilian Krell sat stiffly in their section, their scales gleaming and claws tapping impatiently on the metal tables. And the Altheans, most human-like in appearance but with skin in shades of blue and violet, watched her with ancient eyes. "The Council recognizes Ambassador Elaine Ward of Earth," announced High Counselor Zex of the Xerians, his voice translated instantly through the neural link all members wore. Elaine stepped forward. "Esteemed members of the Galactic Council, I bring greetings from Earth. For months we have worked together toward peace. Today, we stand on the edge of a new era of cooperation." She presented the human proposals for trade, cultural exchange, and mutual defense. The negotiations had been difficult, but she had built trust with each representative personally over many late nights and private meetings. As she finished speaking, High Counselor Zex raised a crystalline hand. "We thank the human ambassador for her presentation." Something in his tone made Elaine pause. "However, before we continue, the Council must address a serious matter that has come to our attention." The large central display activated, showing images of human cargo ships. These vessels were intercepted yesterday in the Rigel sector. They were carrying these. The image changed to show racks of advanced weapons. Elaine's heart sank. There must be some mistake. Those aren't. These are Mark 7 planet breakers, interrupted Krell War Leader Voss, his scaled face twisted in anger. "Weapons specifically banned by Council law." "Earth has no such weapons," Elaine protested. "Those ships must be—" "The evidence is clear," said Althean Elder Thorn, his voice soft but dangerous. "The cargo markings, crew records, and flight paths all confirm these are Earth military transport vessels." Elaine turned to Peter, who looked away. "This is impossible. We need time to investigate." "The Council has already voted," announced Zex. "Earth is found in violation of Council peace, Code 27B. All human voting rights are suspended. Earth ships must withdraw from Council-protected space within 72 hours. Trade restrictions are now in effect." "You can't do this," Elaine said, her voice rising. "We've worked too hard for peace. Earth deserves a chance to defend itself." "The decision is made," said Moravi Representative Gloom, her gaseous form darkening. "The human delegation is dismissed from these proceedings." Elaine stood frozen in shock, months of work destroyed in minutes. As she turned to leave, she saw Elder Thorn of the Altheans give a small nod to someone behind her. In the hallway outside, she grabbed Peter's arm. "What just happened in there? Those ships, those weren't ours." Peter pulled away. "I'm sorry, Elaine." Understanding dawned on her face. "It was you. You gave them false information." "They promised no one would get hurt," he whispered. "They just wanted Earth contained." "Who promised? The Altheans?" Elaine demanded. A group of Council security officers approached. "Ambassador Ward, you are to be escorted to your ship immediately." Peter used the distraction to slip away down a side corridor. "Peter," Elaine called after him, but he was gone. Back at the human embassy on Centauri Prime, chaos reigned. Staff rushed to pack essential documents and equipment. Communications with Earth were frantic as the news spread. Elaine sat at her desk, reviewing the evidence against Earth. The more she looked, the more obvious the forgery became. Ship identification numbers didn't match Earth registry patterns. The weapons shown weren't of human design, but the Council had accepted it all without question. Admiral Joe Russell, commander of the Human Defense Fleet in the sector, appeared on her screen. "Ambassador, we've received orders to withdraw all ships. Is this for real?" "I'm afraid so, Admiral. The Council has made its decision based on false evidence." "We can fight this," Russell said, his face grim. "The Second Fleet could be here in—" "No," Elaine cut him off. "That's exactly what they want. If we respond with military force, it justifies everything they've claimed about us. So we just tuck tail and run?" "We withdraw as ordered," she said firmly. "But this isn't over. Someone set Earth up, and I'm going to prove it." As the human ships prepared to leave Council space, Elaine received a priority message from Earth government. Her face hardened as she read it. They wanted her to return home immediately. Instead, she called in her most trusted aide, Lisa Clark. "I need you to book passage on a trading vessel to the Omega outpost. Use a different name." "You're not going back to Earth?" Lisa asked, surprised. "Not yet. The Council just kicked over a hornet's nest. But they don't know it yet." Elaine pulled up star charts on her screen. "Someone wanted humanity out of the way, and I need to find out why." Lisa lowered her voice. "The communication intercepts you asked for came through. Peter's ship requested clearance for the Althean home system." "So my suspicions were right," Elaine murmured. She downloaded files to a secure data crystal and slipped it into her pocket. "Make the arrangements. Tell no one where I'm going." That night, as the human embassy staff prepared for final evacuation, Elaine slipped out through service corridors. The spaceport was busy with ships of all kinds. She pulled a hood over her distinctive red hair and made her way to Docking Bay 17. A small trading ship waited there, its captain arguing with port officials. Elaine recognized him, Jeff Lawson, a smuggler who sometimes carried diplomatic packages, too sensitive for official channels. "Jeff?" she said quietly, approaching from behind. "Need a passenger?" He turned, surprised. "Ambassador, I heard you were headed back to Earth." "That's what everyone's supposed to think. Got room for one more?" Jeff glanced at the officials, then back at her. "Cargo holds cramped, and I'm headed to the edge of Council space. Dangerous times for humans out there." "Perfect," Elaine said. "That's exactly where I need to go." As the small ship lifted off, Elaine watched the Council tower shrink in the distance. 15 years of human diplomacy, destroyed by lies and fear. But she wasn't giving up. Her neural link chimed with an incoming message from Earth. The president himself wanted to speak with her. Elaine switched it off. In the darkness of space, she reviewed what she knew. Peter had betrayed Earth. The Altheans were involved. The Council had acted too quickly, too unanimously, as if the decision had been made before any evidence was presented. "This isn't over," she whispered to herself, as stars streaked past the small viewpoint. Not by a long shot. 3 weeks had passed since humanity's expulsion from the Galactic Council. Ambassador Elaine Ward sat in a dimly lit room at the edge of human space. The trading outpost of Omega Station was crowded with beings from across the galaxy, making it the perfect place to hide. She studied the holographic display showing news from across Council space. Reports claimed human ships had attacked merchant vessels. Elaine knew these were lies. Earth's fleet had fully withdrawn as ordered. "More propaganda," said a deep voice. Gregory Bell entered the room, his broad shoulders filling the doorway. The ex-military intelligence officer had answered Elaine's call immediately when she needed help. "They're building a case against us," Elaine replied. "But why?" The door slid open again. Samantha Cole walked in, her dark hair tied back tightly. As Earth's best xenolinguistics expert, she could understand alien languages and cultures better than most translation programs. "I've decoded more Althean messages," Samantha said, placing a data chip on the table. "They keep mentioning something called Operation Eclipse." Kyle Winters followed her, his fingers still moving across his portable computer. The young hacker had been working non-stop since joining Elaine's team. "I got into a Zerion database," Kyle said with a tired smile. "Those weapons they claimed were on human ships? The serial numbers match a batch stolen from a Krell outpost last year." Elaine nodded slowly. "So the evidence was planted, but we need proof that connects back to the Council directly." Gregory pulled up a star map. Peter's ship landed on the Althean homeworld, then disappeared. "His trail goes cold there. We need to follow him," Elaine said firmly. "Into Althean space?" Kyle looked worried. "That's suicide for humans right now." A sudden explosion shook the station. Warning alarms blared throughout the complex. "They found us," Gregory said, grabbing his weapon. "Emergency exit now." The team grabbed their essential equipment and ran through the back corridor of their hideout. Behind them, heavy footsteps approached. "Krell hunters," Samantha whispered as they ducked into a maintenance shaft. They crawled through narrow passages designed for repair drones until they reached a small docking bay. Gregory had prepared a ship for emergency escape. Within minutes, they were flying away from Omega Station. "Too easy," Elaine said, watching through the view screen as no ships followed them. "They wanted us to run. Probably placed a tracker," Gregory replied, already scanning their vessel. He found a small device hidden in their cargo and promptly destroyed it. "Where to now?" Kyle asked. Elaine thought for a moment. "Vega Minor. I have a contact there." Vega Minor was an independent trading world that dealt with all species. The Council had limited influence there. After landing in a crowded spaceport, the team made their way through bustling markets filled with goods and creatures from across the galaxy. In a quiet bar overlooking the spaceport, Elaine met Frank Nichols, an old diplomatic colleague who had left service years ago to become a trader. "Good to see you're still alive," Frank said, his weathered face breaking into a smile. "You've stirred up quite a mess." "Not my doing," Elaine replied. "What have you heard?" Frank's smile faded. "Strange things. 2 months ago, I saw Council military ships with altered identification signals attacking civilian vessels. Later, the news blamed human pirates. The attacks started before we were expelled," Samantha noted. "This was planned long ago," Elaine said. Frank nodded. "But there's more. Military buildups near human space. Not just one species. All of them." "The Council never intended peace," Gregory muttered. "We need hard evidence," Elaine insisted. "Something we can show to the public, across all worlds," Kyle spoke up. "The Krell have a military outpost nearby. They might have data we could use." Gregory nodded. "I can get in. My old clearance codes might still work if they haven't updated their systems." That night, while the others prepared, Gregory infiltrated the Krell outpost. Dressed as a maintenance worker from a non-human species, he moved through their base, eventually reaching a data terminal. Hours later, he returned to their hideout, looking grim but carrying a data chip. "What did you find?" Elaine asked. "Troop movements, fleet positions," Gregory said, plugging the chip into their system. "Council forces are gathering at these points." The display showed military units positioned near key human colonies. "They're preparing for war," Elaine whispered. Samantha studied the data. "These orders date back a year, before the peace talks even started." The peace conference was a setup from the beginning, Kyle realized. Elaine's face hardened. And Peter was part of it. The next morning, as they discussed their next move, Kyle made a breakthrough in tracking Peter's movements. "He's on the move again," Kyle said excitedly. "I found his ship's signature leaving the Althean homeworld yesterday. He's heading for Moravi space." "And he's carrying something," Samantha added, looking at the transmission data. "Heavily encrypted files. That's where we go next," Elaine decided. Frank offered his ship for their journey. "My vessel has Moravi trading permits. I can get you close." As they prepared to leave, alarm signals blared across the spaceport. Armed security forces began checking all ships and passengers. "Someone reported us," Gregory said, peering through the viewport. Frank quickly prepped his ship for launch. "Get aboard. I'll deal with the clearance." As they lifted off, Port Authority ships moved to block their path. "Hold on!" Frank called out as he pushed the engines beyond safe limits. The ship shot through a narrow gap between two security vessels and accelerated toward space. "They're following," Kyle reported, watching the sensors. Frank's hands moved expertly across the controls. "I know these routes better than they do." The ship dove into a dense asteroid field that surrounded Vega Minor. Security ships followed cautiously, falling behind as Frank navigated at dangerous speeds through the tumbling rocks. "We're clear," he announced after tense minutes of flying as they set course for Mojave space. Elaine studied the data they had gathered so far. "There's a pattern here. The Council doesn't just want human influence reduced, they want us eliminated." "But why?" Samantha asked. "I think Peter has the answer," Elaine replied. "Whatever he's carrying to the Mojave is important enough to kill." 4. Gregory checked their weapons. "The Mojave homeworld is mostly poison gas. We'll need special suits just to survive there." "I have some in cargo," Frank said. "Old exploration gear. Not comfortable, but they'll keep you alive." As they traveled through hyperspace, Elaine couldn't sleep. She kept reviewing everything that had happened since the Council turned against Earth. "It's not just politics," she told the others during a quiet moment. "This is fear. They're afraid of us. But why?" "Humans adapt quickly," Samantha suggested. "We went from our first space flight to Council membership faster than any species in recorded history." "And we asked too many questions," Kyle added. Elaine nodded slowly. "Whatever the reason, we need to find Peter and get those files. The truth is our only weapon now." As their ship approached Mojave space, Frank received an urgent transmission. "Bad news. Council warships are patrolling the border. They're checking all vessels." "Can we avoid them?" Elaine asked. Frank studied the star charts. "There's an old smuggler's route through the Terrace Nebula. Dangerous but unguarded." Gregory looked concerned. "The radiation in that nebula could kill us." "Not if we're fast," Frank replied. "It's our only option." Elaine made the decision. "Take us through." As their ship turned toward the glowing clouds of the nebula, Elaine looked at her small team. They had all risked everything to follow her. Now they were heading into even greater danger. "They're not just trying to discredit us," she said quietly. "They're preparing for war." The swirling gases of the Mojave homeworld glowed with eerie purples and greens outside the ship's viewports. Frank had managed to navigate them through the dangerous Terrace Nebula, though the radiation had damaged several of their systems. "Landing won't be easy," Frank warned as he guided the ship toward the coordinates Kyle had traced for Peter's vessel. "Atmospheric storms are playing havoc with our sensors." Elaine checked her environmental suit one final time. The Mojave breathed nitrogen, compounds that would kill a human in seconds. "Everyone remember the plan? We find Peter, get the files, and leave. No unnecessary risks." Gregory nodded grimly. "The longer we stay, the more likely we'll be discovered." The ship descended through churning clouds. Frank landed them in an industrial zone where the dense fog would help hide their presence. The loading ramp opened with a hiss, revealing a landscape of twisted metal structures designed for beings who floated rather than walked. "Suits sealed," Samantha reminded everyone, "and keep comm lines open at all times." The four stepped onto the Mojave world, their boots clanging on metal platforms. The gravity was slightly lower than Earth standard, making their movements feel strangely light. "Peter's signal is coming from that structure," Kyle said, pointing to a towering building that disappeared into the clouds above, about half a kilometer away. They moved carefully through the alien city, avoiding the floating Mojave who occasionally drifted past. Their suits, designed for maintenance workers, didn't attract much attention. "Security is heavy here," Gregory noted, spotting armed Mojave guards at various checkpoints. "This isn't just a data center." As they approached the main building, Kyle studied his scanner. "Peter's on the 47th level, but there's no way we're getting through the main entrance." Gregory pointed to a maintenance tunnel. "Service, access, standard design across most council facilities." The team slipped inside the tunnel, climbing steadily upward through the building's infrastructure. After nearly an hour of careful progress, They reached the 47th level. "We need a distraction," Elaine whispered as they watched security drones patrol the corridor outside their access panel. Kyle pulled out a small device. "I've got just the thing. Cover your ears." The device emitted a high-pitched sound that sent the security drones racing toward the far end of the corridor, their sensors confused. "Now," Gregory said, pushing open the panel. They moved swiftly down the empty hallway, following Kyle's directions until they reached a sealed door. "He's in there," Kyle confirmed, working on the lock. "But there are others with him." "How many?" Gregory asked, checking his weapon. 3, maybe 4 life signs," Kyle replied as the door slid open. Inside, they found Peter sitting at a console, his face pale and drawn. 3 Moravi guards floated nearby, their gaseous forms swirling in. "Agitation, humans," one guard called out, reaching for a weapon. Gregory moved with military precision, firing stun bolts that disrupted the Moravi's gaseous bodies, temporarily incapacitating them. Peter looked up, his eyes widening in shock. "Elaine, how did you—" "No, time," she cut him off. "We need those files you're carrying." "You don't understand," Peter said, backing away. "They'll kill my family. They have people on Earth watching them." Gregory grabbed Peter's arm. "Your family is under protection. We contacted Earth security before we left." Peter's shoulders sagged in relief. "I never wanted to betray you, Elaine. They gave me no choice." "Who?" Elaine demanded. "The Altheans?" "All of them," Peter replied. "The entire council. They've been planning this for years." Kyle moved to the console. "I need access to those encrypted files." Peter entered a series of codes. "It's all here. Everything they didn't want humans to know." As data flowed across the screen, Samantha began translating the alien text. Her expression grew more troubled with each passing moment. "Elaine," she said quietly, "you need to see this." The files contained historical records, council meeting transcripts, and classified directives spanning decades. As Elaine read, the truth became painfully clear. "They fear us," she whispered. "They've been watching humanity since our first radio signals reached space." "It's not just us," Samantha added. "Look at these records. 3 other species in the last millennium. All framed, isolated, and then eliminated," Gregory finished. Kyle found footage of secret council meetings. The peace conference was a setup from the start. They never intended to include us as equals. In one recording, Althean Elder Thorn spoke coldly about humanity. Their rate of advancement exceeds acceptable parameters. Within a century, they could surpass even the Zarians in technology. The containment protocol must be implemented. Peter pointed to another file. "This is what truly frightened them. Human adaptability. We solve problems faster than any species they've encountered. Our genetic diversity, our cultural flexibility, they see it as unpredictable and dangerous." "We were too different," Elaine realized. "Too unpredictable for their ordered universe." Samantha discovered communications showing the council fleet movements. "They're almost in position. Earth has less than 2 weeks before they attack. We need to warn our people," Elaine said urgently. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the building. Kyle checked his scanner. "We've been detected. Security forces are converging on this level." "Download everything," Elaine ordered. "We need to get this evidence back to Earth." As Kyle copied the files, Gregory secured the doorway. "We've got company. Lots of it." The team hurried back toward the maintenance shaft but found it blocked by security drones. They were forced down another corridor, moving deeper into the building. "There's a landing pad on level 60, Peter said. "Emergency evacuation ships are kept ready at all times." They fought their way up, with Gregory using his military training to keep the security forces at bay. When they finally reached the landing pad, Frank was waiting with their ship. "I figured you might need a quick exit," he called over the comm. As they rushed toward the ship, a Moravi battlecruiser appeared overhead, weapons charging. "We'll never outrun that," Kyle said. Frank's face was grim but determined. "Get to your..." Ship, I'll draw them off. Frank, no, Elaine protested. Someone has to make it back with those files, he said. Earth needs to know what's coming. Before they could argue further, Frank's ship lifted off, engines burning hot as it shot directly toward the battlecruiser. The larger vessel turned to pursue, giving Elaine and her team the chance to reach their own ship and escape. From orbit, they watched as Frank's ship rammed into the pursuing vessels, causing a chain reaction that lit up the Mojave sky. He saved us, Samantha whispered. There was no time to mourn. As they accelerated away from the Mojave homeworld, Elaine sent an encrypted message to Earth's Defense Command. We have proof of the Council's betrayal. Prepare all defenses. We were never meant to have peace. We were meant to be eliminated. In the ship's small command center, the team reviewed what they had learned. The truth was worse than they had imagined. The Council fears change, Samantha explained. Their civilizations are thousands of years old, stable but stagnant. Humanity represents chaos to their ordered universe. And now we're heading home to prepare for war, Gregory said. Not just war, Elaine corrected. The truth is our most powerful weapon. The ordinary citizens of those worlds don't know what their leaders are doing. If we can expose this conspiracy, a galaxy-wide broadcast, Kyle suggested, I could hack into the Council's communication network. We need more than that, Elaine said thoughtfully. We need to address the Council directly, make them face their lies in front of everyone. That's suicide, Gregory warned. Elaine's eyes were determined. Maybe. But if we fail, Earth falls, and we can't let that happen. As their ship entered hyperspace, heading for Earth, Elaine stared at the swirling darkness outside. The Council had shattered peace, but humanity would fight back, not just with weapons, but with truth. The mood was grim in Earth's defense headquarters. Military leaders gathered around holographic displays showing the approaching Council fleet. Human ships were outnumbered 5-1. Even with all our defenses, we can't win a direct fight, Admiral Wendy Harris said, her voice steady despite the dire situation. We need more time to evacuate the outer colonies. Ambassador Elaine Ward stood silently, watching the military preparations. The evidence they had brought back from Mojave space had confirmed everyone's worst fears. The Council had never intended peace. They had always planned to eliminate humanity. What about diplomatic options? Asked President Alan Carter. There are none, Elaine replied. The Council won't negotiate. They see us as a threat to their order. Kyle entered the room, his young face tired after days without sleep. I've analyzed all the data. Their fleet will reach our outer defense lines in 10 days. Then we have 10 days to find a solution, Elaine said firmly. Later, in a smaller meeting room, Elaine gathered her team. Gregory and Samantha looked worn but determined. Peter sat apart from the others, still ashamed of his role in the betrayal. Standard military response won't work, Elaine began. We need something unexpected, something they won't see coming. What if we could turn their own people against them? Samantha suggested. The evidence shows the Council leaders acted without informing their populations. The average Xerian or Krell citizen doesn't know the truth. Gregory shook his head. We have no way to reach them. All communication channels are controlled by Council authorities. What if we address the Council directly? Elaine said slowly. Force them to hear us in their own chambers? That's impossible, Peter said. They'd never allow you back. Elaine smiled slightly. They never actually revoked my diplomatic codes. In their arrogance, they didn't think they needed to. You can't be serious, Gregory protested. They'll kill you the moment you step into the chamber. Not if we plan this properly, Elaine replied. Kyle, can you prepare a data package that can be transmitted across all Council communication channels simultaneously? Kyle thought for a moment. Yes, but I'd need access to their main communication hub. Which is in the Council chamber itself, Samantha added. Exactly, Elaine said. We go in under the pretense of a final diplomatic appeal. Once inside, we broadcast the truth to every world in Council space. The plan was dangerous, but no one offered a better alternative. Earth had days before the invasion began. They had to try something. President Carter reluctantly approved the mission. If there's even a small chance this could work, we have to take it. Using her old diplomatic codes, Elaine sent a formal request to address the council on behalf of Earth. To everyone's surprise, the council agreed. They think they can use this to justify their attack, Gregory suggested. Show the galaxy that they gave humans one last chance to surrender. Or they plan to assassinate you, Samantha added, grimly. Either way, we're going, Elaine said. But first, we need to prepare our message. Over the next 2 days, they worked tirelessly. Kyle designed a program that would bypass council security and broadcast their evidence across all channels. Samantha translated everything into the languages of all council races and their colonies. Gregory prepared for the security challenges they would face. Meanwhile, Elaine reached out to contacts on other worlds. We need allies, she explained to her team. People within the council systems who are willing to stand with us when the truth comes out. The day before their departure, a small diplomatic vessel arrived from Centauri Prime. The crew carried messages from sympathizers within each major council race, younger representatives who disagreed with their leaders' actions. We're not alone, Elaine told her team. There are others who believe in true cooperation rather than domination. Their journey to Centauri Prime was tense but uneventful. The council had granted their ship safe passage. As they approached the council tower, Elaine addressed her team one final time. Whatever happens today changes everything. If we succeed, we create a chance for real peace. If we fail, Earth falls, Gregory finished. We won't fail, Samantha said confidently. The council chamber was packed with representatives from all major worlds. Security forces lined the walls. In the center of the chamber, Elaine stood alone on the speaking platform, while her team waited in designated diplomatic seats. The council recognizes Ambassador Elaine Ward of Earth, announced. High Counselor Zex of the Zerions, his crystalline body glittering coldly. Esteemed council members, Elaine began formally. I come before you today not to beg for mercy, but to speak truth. Earth has violated council law, interrupted Elder Thorn of the Altheans. Your military forces have done nothing, Elaine. Cut in. And you know it. The evidence against us was manufactured. The peace conference was never meant to succeed. And now, a council fleet approaches Earth, not for peace, but for elimination. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Several representatives from smaller worlds looked confused. These are dangerous accusations, said Moravi Representative Gloom. Not accusations. Facts. Elaine nodded to Kyle, who activated the program they had prepared. Above the chamber, holographic screens appeared, showing the evidence they had gathered. Secret council meetings planning humanity's downfall, falsified evidence against Earthships, and most damning of all, the containment protocol that had been used to eliminate 3 previous species. As the evidence played, Kyle transmitted the same information across all council communication networks. On thousands of worlds, citizens were seeing the truth about their leaders. This is treason, shouted War Leader Voss of the Krell, drawing his weapon. Before he could fire, Gregory moved to protect Elaine. Security forces surrounded the human delegation. But something unexpected happened. A young Althean representative stood. Is this true, Elderthorn? Did we frame the humans? More representatives began questioning their leaders. The chamber erupted in chaos. On screens throughout the chamber, reports began coming in from across council space. Protests were breaking out on multiple worlds as populations learned they had been lied to. Several minor council races formally denounced the actions of the major powers. Colony worlds declared independence from council control. This council has lost its way, declared the representative from Centauri Prime, rising to stand beside Elaine. We joined for peace, not conquest. One by one, representatives from a dozen worlds moved to support the humans. The chamber's security forces hesitated, unsure who to obey. High Counselor Zex tried to regain control. This changes nothing. The human threat must be contained. The only threat here is fear, Elaine replied, her voice carrying throughout the chamber. Fear of change, Fear of difference, fear of progress. That fear has led this council to betray its founding principles. The Zarian representative lunged at Elaine, but Gregory stepped between them, taking the blow meant for her. As Gregory fell wounded, more security forces moved in, but they were stopped by representatives of the worlds that had sided with humanity. Arrest, the council leaders, ordered the Centauri Prime representative, for conspiracy and attempted genocide. The next 6 months were filled with dramatic changes across the galaxy. The old council collapsed as evidence of its crimes spread. The military alliance fractured as accusations flew between the major powers. In its place, Elaine proposed a new organization, the Galactic Confederation, where all species would have equal representation. Worlds that had been dominated by the major powers eagerly joined. 1 year after humanity's expulsion from the council, Elaine stood before the first gathering of the new confederation. The chamber was filled with representatives from hundreds of worlds, including many who had once been part of the council. Today marks not just peace, she told them, but justice, not just cooperation, but understanding. And most importantly, not just survival, but a future where all species can thrive, together. As she finished speaking, the chamber erupted in applause. Among the delegates, Gregory, now recovered from his wounds, smiled proudly. Samantha and Kyle stood with representatives from their new ally worlds. The old council powers remained. Isolated, their influence diminished. But even they were slowly beginning to reach out, as younger leaders replaced those who had fallen. Humanity had faced extinction and emerged stronger, not through force, but through truth. And in doing so, they had created something the galaxy had never truly known before: genuine peace. Not bad for a species that was supposed to be eliminated, Gregory said quietly to Elaine as they left the chamber. Elaine smiled. Maybe that's why they feared us. Not because we're dangerous, but because we see possibilities they couldn't imagine.